come along with me while I cut some crutch words and just like little filler stuff from Bloodless Ties, shall we? So I've already done quite a few of them, which is good. I did the easy ones. Easy in the sense that like they are words that you can literally just delete and it doesn't change the sentence. So I can just go through, decide which ones I want to delete, hit delete and keep moving. I don't have to change anything. There are some where the whole sentence will change if I remove them, or I just need to remove the whole sentence. So those ones are a little bit slower, so I've saved those for last, unfortunately. But I did knock out some of the words that, although they were easy to delete, there was a lot of them. So yeah, let me take you through some of the words that I cut from my manuscripts. Again, this is a totally case-by-case basis, and every book I have different phrases or words that for whatever reason just like stuck in my head and I just used a lot without realizing it. I have a couple that I use kind of from book to book that I just know are some of my like tics. They're just my crutch words that I tend to use all the time. And then each book kind of has their own special ones. So for Bloodless Ties, I'm honestly still kind of figuring out which are my Bloodless Ties special words. So in going through the editing that I'm doing now, I'm just making a list. When I see things, I'm like, oh, I've used that phrase a lot. I've used that way to describe something a lot. And then I also went back to, I have lists that I made for the Marionettes and Wicked Souls. So I've been looking at those two lists to kind of remind myself of what words I've had to cut in the past, because odds are they are in this book too. Let me show you the list first and then we'll get started. So this was for the Marionettes, and it's really messy because obviously I was like crossing them out as I went through them. And I was writing how many instances I had and then how many I got it down to. So yeah, here's a quick look. Marionettes. A lot of these I haven't looked for yet, so I'm curious to see if there's still problems in Bloodless Ties. I'm not sure if they are. Ones I have done, I did look at that. I looked at probably, what else have I done? Just and even are always like, just cut them the majority of the time. I can't believe there were only 359. In Bloodless Ties, there was over 750. To be fair though, Bloodless Ties has like twice the word count of this book. The look, gaze, eyes, glance, all of that, those are gonna be harder. I always have to do those, but that's gonna be a big thing. Oh, I did a bit already. I did slightly. Okay, you can't look at this side. But these were the crutch words that I looked at for Wicked Souls. Sorry if you can hear that, that's my washing machine. But you can see a lot of the same ones are on here. We've got like the glance, look, see, all that kind of stuff. Just, suddenly, immediately, very quietly, gently. All of that kind of stuff. And then things that I found for Bloodless Ties: tears rolling down cheeks. Reach is one of those where you can like totally cut it the majority of the time. It's like, I reached to grab, or like he reached for my hand or something. Like it's just a fit, like in between word that you can just cut. It doesn't add any new meaning. Shivers down spines, or anything like variations of that I have a lot of. And then all of, you can almost always cut to just all. For whatever reason, I like found a lot of rolling windows down. So we're gonna keep adding to this list and see what we come up with. I'm not done with the other edits I need to be doing with Bloodless Ties, and this is usually a later step for me. But for whatever reason, I've just been kind of enjoying doing this, so I'm just gonna let myself keep doing it. Although I have done the majority of like the adding scenes and cutting scenes that I think I'm gonna have to do, so it's not unreasonable for me to jump to this step, is what I'm saying. So we've already cut a good like 2,000 words from the manuscript from cutting this kind of stuff. So that makes me feel a little bit better because the word count was getting out of control. So we'll see where we go. Let's pick a word and start from there. I'm gonna actually keep track of like how many there are now because I haven't been doing that. I jumped to practically, there's only 4. I thought there would be more than that. Wicked Souls, there was, what is that, 12? I guess it's not that much, but you can see different words for different books. Still, I'm gonna cut some. Even though there's not like a ton of these, still the ones I'm seeing, like they don't need to be here. They don't add anything to the sentence. Okay, so 2 of them I'm gonna leave because I like them. The other 2 didn't need to be there. I know some people aren't as picky with their editing as I am, but I don't know, I really care about how my writing flows and how clean it is. I don't like having like filler words and stuff. So if you're watching this and you're like, oh my god, I don't do all of this, a lot of people don't. I think it's a nice touch. I think it makes a difference. I think it helps with the flow, and I don't know, I can tell when authors don't do this, but again, I might just be like super sensitive to it and pick up on it. The writing feels like, I can't think of a better way to describe it other than like bloated. Like it's just like, it could have been smoother. Okay, so I'm gonna stop putting off all of the hard ones. We're gonna do a hard one. Let's start with eyes. So you might be wondering, like, why is that an issue? So it's not always, which is why I don't cut all of them. But in general, having all of these references to sight, eyes, look, glance, gaze. For one thing, they can sometimes be a filtering word where you're like, I see this happen, instead of just saying this happened, which puts distance between you and the point of view character. But then also all of these like sight details, like they exchanged a look, they exchanged a glance, these work more in visual mediums. So a lot of the times when you're writing like this, it's because you're like seeing the story as a movie in your head, which makes sense. So you're seeing the characters like exchange a look, and so you're describing everything that you're seeing, which is great. But for a reader on the outside reading that, they are not getting as much information from characters exchanging a look on the page as they would be with seeing that in a movie. Because in the movie you can see their expressions, you can see what that means. With writing, it's not the same. This is a bad habit of mine, is I write in a way that would be better for film than for a novel. So breaking yourself of the habit of like always focusing on those sight details and glances and stuff is something I have to work on with every single one of my books. Find different ways to convey things and describe things other than just like what the characters are doing with their eyes all the time. It can also get repetitive, and I think it really up levels your writing when you start to like move away from doing this all the time. Obviously, I leave quite a few of these kind of things in the book, and when they're well placed, they work well. Like, it's helpful. It's not like it's never necessary. It is for sure, but it's when that's like your only way of describing thing, or you overuse it, is when it becomes an issue. So I don't know if I explained that well, but anyway, for eyes we have 430. Let's see if we can fix any of these. The problem with this is it's not usually like I can just cut the word eyes. It's I need to sit and think if there's a better way for me to describe something, if the sentence just needs to be cut altogether. It's a little more complicated than just deleting the word. Also, something you might find helpful, I use it myself, is the emotion thesaurus. So if you find yourself using the same description of body language a lot, this can help give you some alternatives. So it's great that you're using body language to describe someone's emotion rather than telling. This is showing versus telling, but using the same one over and over again gets repetitive. So I always find myself with like a lot of rolling eyes or raising eyebrows and like things like that. So trying to find a different way to describe someone's emotion, this is really helpful if you've never used it before. I have the old version. Actually, if you buy it now, you'll get a newer version that's like updated and has more in it, but I've been thinking about buying the new version. I just don't know if it's worth it to buy it twice. If someone has had both versions, let me know. So basically, I also got mine used. So if you see highlights and stuff in here, it's not even from me, it's from whoever had mine first. So they have a table of contents, and it's just a list of all of these different emotions. So you go to the page, let's say we're looking for skepticism on page 142. Then you come here, and it'll give you a huge list of physical signs. And then it will also give you internal sensations, mental responses, cues of acute or long-term skepticism, and then cues of suppressed skepticism. And it will also like refer you to some other related emotions. So I think this is a really helpful resource if you want to grab one. I guess I'll link it down below. I also have a couple of their other manuals. They have quite a few. I don't have all of them, but I also have their negative trait thesaurus and their positive trait thesaurus. I actually just recently got these, so I haven't used them a whole ton, but my plan is to use these to help with characters and crafting new characters and things like that. Back to the eyes. We're gonna see if this will give us some ideas on what to do instead of narrowing eyes. Here's a good example. So the sentence I'm looking at is, his expression is suddenly serious, all of the amusement gone from his eyes. It's not a terrible sentence, and in some scenarios it might be worth keeping. In this scene, I'm gonna cut it all together, because what does this sentence like really tell us? Okay, so he's serious, he's not amused anymore. But the next line is a line of his dialogue, and I feel like the rest of the scene shows that he's serious and that this isn't like an amused banter anymore. So prefacing the dialogue by saying this isn't really necessary. I think the reader can kind of guess what his expression looks like here. So this is a case where we're just gonna cut the sentence altogether. The sentence also doesn't really like tell you that much. It's pretty vague. Like his expression is serious. That could look like anything. This is more telling than it is showing the amusement's gone from his eyes. It's a lot of words that aren't really saying much, basically.
No.